Good morning. You know, whilst Issy was doing the introduction, Pastor said something. He said that, hey, you know, my topic is upscaling. So he's looking at my shoe. I've really upscaled. Yeah, I'm upshoeing. I'm shoeing up. Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Beckson. Thank you to the organizers of E&E. And thank you very much, Mr. Benin, for the powerful thoughts you've shared. I was moved by become restless. We've got to be restless. We've got to be hungry. You know, we have to be dissatisfied, not discontented, but dissatisfied. It's very powerful. Okay, so A. Bernard & Co. says I should speak on upscaling and reskilling. And I'm saying, no, so no. The importance of continuous learning and acquiring new skills to stay relevant in the job market. Upskilling and reskilling. I'll go straight to it. I'll be speaking a bit fast because I have a lot of things I want to share. Now, number one, skill is simply ability. So skill is simply ability. It is what you can do, what you are able to do, what you can do. Not can in terms of potential, as in what you potentially can do, but what you can actually do. So skill is ability, what you can do, what you can actually do, what you are able to do. You know, so we are talking about, say, leadership skills. We are talking about managerial skills. We are talking about business skills, entrepreneurial skills, people management skills, talking about communication skills, financial management skills, graphic designing skills, looking at the photographer, photography skills, video editing skills, graphic designing skills, editing skills, not editing videos, but editing text. So it is what can you do, what you are able to do. Now skill is also number two, is also particular ability. So it is ability, but it is also specific. So what specifically can you do? What specifically are you able to do? So you say, I want a job. What job do you want? What can you do? Any job. I can do anything. No, you can't say I can do anything or I want any job because you can't do everything. But you must be able to do something specific. So, like my colleagues here who are still in university, I like what you said. She said that maybe we can get a job when we come here. That is strategic positioning. Everybody here came with different motive. She's coming for a job. But the question is, what job can you do or what job do you want? Any job? No, it cannot be any job. It has to be something specific you can do. So you ask yourself, what specifically can I do? Not what I want to do, but what can I do? What specific skills do I have? What specific abilities do I have? And you know, like Mr. Benny was saying, you learn by doing. So in terms of skill, it's about what you have done, what you are doing, what you can do, not what you hope to be able to do. And some of these questions, if you don't start thinking about it now, especially if you're in tertiary school, if you don't start thinking about it now, you'll be forced to think about it when you're looking for a job. So what specifically can you do? And skill can be grouped into, we have the soft skills and the what? And the what? Who can help me? The technical skills. So they are the soft skills. If you want to become a graphic designer, if you want to do animation, if you want to go into video, whatever, there are technical skills there you must know. And then there are the soft skills, the interpersonal skills, and all of that. Coincidentally, this week I saw something on Michael Essien X page. These days, when you are saying X, you are thinking Twitter, but your mouth is saying X. So some of us have still not adopted real well. Adapted. And on his page, this was a post he made a long time ago, on I think 4th or 14th April. And it was a black man being interviewed. And he said something. He says, when you go to America, they ask you, what can you do? When you come to Europe, they ask you, what are your qualifications? When you come to Africa to seek for a job, they ask you, who sent you? Americans will ask you, what can you do? What are you capable of doing? That one is an emphasis on what? Abilities, on skills. So what can I do? You see, if you are not cautious, you can go to work 8 to 5, go and come, go and come, go and come, without being conscious of what are my assets in terms of skills, what I can really do. Unless you are looking for another job and you have to put together a CV and a skills section, and you are found wanting. So, Americans will ask you, what can you do? Europeans will ask you, what are your qualifications? And then, when you come to Africa, what's the question? Who sent you? It's not about what you can do, it's about who sent you. Now, if you are smart, you will work on what can you do, then you work on what are your qualifications, and then you work on what? On who sent you. To give you a competitive advantage. To make sure that you've covered all the ends. Interestingly, I think a couple of months ago, something flashed on my Google, whatever, and it was so related to this, I was surprised. That an increasing number of companies in America now, an increasing number, not all of them, they have dropped college degree requirements for certain jobs. In other words, you must have a good, like in Ghana, a good first degree, a good master's degree, so and so. They have dropped that in favor of skills and competencies. So that it's not about what academic qualifications I have, it's about what I can do. Now, a certain popular recruitment agency, ZipRecruiter, did this survey, and let me read what they said. In 2023, the share of jobs on hiring platform ZipRecruiter that listed a bachelor's degree as a requirement dropped from 18% to 14.5%. 45% of employers surveyed by the firm said they had done away with degree requirements for certain roles over the past year. 72% of firms said they prioritize candidate skills and experience over the diplomas they hold. Of course, this is America. We are in Ghana. You know that it takes a long time for us to catch up with some of those trends. However, that is where the world is moving. That they just don't look at academic qualification, paper certificates. It is what can I do? Number 3, skill is, I said number 1 is what? Who can help me? Number 1 is what? Skill is ability. Number 2 is skill is specific. Number 3 is skill is how well you can do what you do. Not just what you can do. How well you do what you do. How well you do what you do. Skillful. Not just that I am good with editing. I am good with writing. I am good with making presentations. The question is, how well do you do it? How good are you at it? How great are you at it? Because you are not the only one with that skill. You are not the only one with that skill. So what makes you skillful? Can I also speak some scriptures here? 1 Samuel 16:18. And I know a certain son of Jesse the Bethlehemite, who is what? Who is what? Skillful. Other versions say who is cunning, who knows how to play the harp well. It is one thing knowing how to play the harp. It is another thing knowing how to play it for evil spirits to leave. To cast out demons. Have you ever seen anybody playing keyboard, the guitar, for evil spirits to leave? It's a combination of skill and the anointing. But you should not let the anointing replace your personal and professional development. Neither should your personal and professional development replace the anointing. So how good are you at what you can do, at the skills that you have? How good are you at diagnosis? How good are you at interviewing? How good are you at selling? How skillful are you? I mean, it's so important that sometimes God even decides to intervene and give us skill. Daniel 1:17. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and what? Skill in all learning and literature. So God gives, he doesn't just give power, he doesn't just give anointing, he can also give skill. But don't expect that after this we are praying that God will give you skills. You have to go and develop it. So, how skillful are you? Number 4. The principle of know, be, and do. We are still talking about upskilling, reskilling, continuous learning. Number 4, the principle of know, be, and do. Now, as you've heard so far, knowledge is different from skill, but the two of them work together. As in, knowledge, relevant knowledge, powers your skill, enhances your skill. I cannot do video editing because I don't have the knowledge for it. But there is something else I can do because I have the knowledge for that other thing. So knowledge powers or enhances your skill, most especially relevant knowledge. If you forget anything I'm going to say today, don't forget what I'm about to say. That if you want to become a medical doctor, you go to medical school for how many years? 6 years. And when you go to medical school, what happens there? What do they do in medical school to become medical doctors? Who can tell me one thing they do in medical school? I mean, any school. You go to where? Lectures. What happens in lectures? Somebody is teaching and you are doing what? You are learning, you are listening. You are hearing and you are listening. Number 2, when you go back home or you go to the library, what do you do there? You go to study, research, read. Number 3, they also have practical sessions. Now, you do these 3 things: listening or hearing. Number 2, reading. Number 3, practicing a certain body of medical knowledge consistently for 6 years. After that, you become what? A medical doctor. If you want to be a pilot, you go to aviation school, and then there too, the same process. You listen, you read, you practice in a simulator consistently for a period. After that, you become. In other words, you become what you repeatedly do what? You repeatedly do what? Listen to. What you repeatedly do what? Read. And what you repeatedly do what? Practice. Consistently. And after 6 years, you have become a medical doctor. I wanted to become an economist when I was in secondary school. I loved economics. Charles is laughing at me. Till I discovered that my maths wasn't good. And in economics, there is econometrics. That one is elective maths, additional maths. Even the core maths self, we know the C top. And you are talking about elective maths. To become an economist, you go and do the same thing. 4 years, first degree, you do master's 2 years, and possibly you go and do your PhD, or if you want to stay, end with the master's, that's also cool. You become an economist, but you listen to specific economic knowledge, a body of knowledge consistently, and you read that body of knowledge, you consume it, then you practice it, then afterwards you become. So whatever you want to become is drawn or sourced from what you are consuming, what you are reading, what you are listening to consistently. Not, you don't read a chapter and then you become an economist or a medical doctor. You don't read a chapter in a medical book. It's like what God told Ezekiel. Is it chapter 2 or chapter 3? Where he says, eat this book before you go and speak to the people. So you have to eat books. You have to eat knowledge. In this case, relevant knowledge, because knowledge powers your skills. And once again, Daniel 11:32. They that do what? Know their God. They shall be what? Strong, and they shall do exploits. Look at the pattern there. They that know, they shall be, and they shall do. That is the principle of know, be, and do. Know, be, and do. Know, be, and do. Know. You become what you know, and you do from what you know. So let us work on what we know. Let us work on acquiring more knowledge, relevant knowledge. And you know, it is not just they that know about God who shall be strong. It is they that know their. That one talks more about personal. It is more experiential. So the knowledge you need is not head knowledge. It's not theoretical knowledge. It's not those who know about God. Head knowledge, theoretical knowledge. You can do, these days, if you have a kid in primary school, they do RME. You can do RME. It is teaching you about God. But it doesn't mean that you know God. You have that personal, experiential relationship. So the knowledge that transforms us and enhances us and can transform our career is the ones that are not in our heads but have been pushed from our heads to and sunk into our hearts. Then they manifest in your hands. So you can have a lot of knowledge here. If it has not sunk here, it will not manifest here. And the key to moving it from here to here is by the repetition of the learning, the meditation. And then the key to moving it from here to here is what Mr. Benning ended with. Learning by doing. So I was very excited by the story he shared about that tertiary school student. If you're in tertiary school and you are not cautious, you will graduate and you wouldn't know the real skills that you have. Because it is just rote learning. You are just consuming. I mean, we all love Ashesi University, right? Don't you love Ashesi University? I don't know about you, but me, I love Ashesi University. Now, Ashesi, when you go there, I don't know which of the courses, but there is a course where in your first semester, they put you in teams and you build a drone. Not in final year project work. First year, they make you build drones in a team. That is learning by doing. Now, when I was in university and I wanted to become an economist, one of the things I loved to do was that at the end of every reading of the budget, I would get a copy from the Daily Graphic and I'll spread it in my room on the floor and I'll be reading and trying to do my own economic analysis. Till I discovered econometrics. And I said, bye-bye. Econometrics, Debbie. You see, if you don't do some of those things to be able to... So I used to love listening to News File and those political and economic discussions so that I will get the practical application of what I am learning. If not, you will graduate. And you see, it just doesn't apply only to tertiary school students. It also applies to you. I'm saying you can be working, but if you are not cautious, you will not be developing skills. There is a difference between gift and skill. Gift and talent and skill. Gift is just the raw ability, the raw can do, which God gives to everybody at birth. But skill is when you have sharpened the talent, the ability to be able to deliver better and more. Okay. Am I making sense? Yes. Number 5. The existence of a scale spectrum. This is my own concept. Scale spectrum necessitates continuous learning. Scale spectrum necessitates continuous learning. Spectrum refers to, who can give me a synonym for spectrum? What is spectrum? The English students here. The spectrum. What is spectrum? The what? Range. The range. What else? What is spectrum? Spectrum. I mean, this is how I talk. I ask you questions. What is spectrum? The range. Okay, so when I say scale spectrum, I'm talking about a measure of your skillfulness. How skillful you are in selling. You can be very good in the technical skill of creating something, but if you are not very good in the selling of it, you will use it yourself. So, unless you employ somebody who will complement you in that area. So, you are very good in selling, but how skillful are you in selling? There is a spectrum of those who are so poor in selling and those who are very sharp or very good or excellent in selling. Those who are so good, if you take your kid to the hospital, they have to do lab. There are some of the labs, who are very good in drawing the blood without the child feeling so much pain for a long time. There are those two who throw it. It's almost like they throw it at the bomb. A skill. So, how good or great are you? So sometimes you'll be taking your child and then your child will say, I don't want to go to this auntie. I don't want to go to this uncle. Or you ask you, is that uncle there? It's a function of skill. So, I know you are good, but how good are you? Now, I got one of my biggest writing projects some years ago. The client was based in the US. He's been working in the US for 40 years. After secondary school, he went to the US, became a medical doctor, specialized, became an orthopedic surgeon, rose to the top of his field in terms of orthopedic surgeons, Hall of Fame level kind of Ghanaian. And I sent him an email from Ghana that I want to help him write his memoir. I got the opportunity eventually. Then I started the work. Now, that was my biggest memoir writing project, and it was a big deal for me because this is somebody who worked at Hospital for Special Surgery in New York and was the chief of orthopedic surgery there. Big guy. He rose to become the Orthopedic Surgeons Association in America, their president. So he was a very big guy. So I knew that this one, I have to do it well. I know I'm a good writer, but I decided to check my spectrum, the measure of how good I am. So I looked for a certain man to be my mentor. This is Cecil Murphy. Cecil Murphy is the co-writer of Ben Carson's Gifted Hands. Those of you who read, some of you, what I'm saying is flying over your head. Because who is Ben Carson? Is he a comedian? Yeah, he's a comedian in America. Ben Carson's classic book, Gifted Hands. Cecil Murphy, he's an old white man. They wrote this book over 30 years ago and it's still a classic. And I love the book because it's inspirational. So I sent Cecil Murphy an email. I have read some of his books on writing, on ghostwriting, and other things. And I've received his newsletters. But I decided that, okay, let me ask him if he will go through the first 5 pages of the first chapter I'm sending to this client. Because I want it to be top notch. And I feel I'm good. But you see, you can be good because you think because you are in a pond. And you would think you are a big fish. But it's because you are in a pond. When you change the water you are swimming into an ocean, you discover that, hey, there are whales and there are sharks. Tilapia. Kita schoolboys. Without the concept of spectrum to be able to benchmark, gauge, measure, rate, know where you are in the development process, you would think that way yoga. And so now you'll be and you will deceive yourself and you will be a local champion. Now, Cecil Murphy told me that he can't go through 5 pages, it's too much. All he needs is the first 2 pages. You can tell how good a writing will be just from the first 2 pages. Whatever mistakes are in the first 2 pages, you see it in the rest of the pages. That is how it works. So when you send in the US, when you send your script to a publisher, they just look at the first few pages. They don't, because they have a lot of manuscripts to go through, so they don't have time to read everything. So you must get the first few pages correct. Okay, I sent it to him. The man ripped it. He ripped it apart. Ripped it apart. Of course, not literally. It was email. So he just, and fortunately for me, he rewrote the first page for me. He said, if it were me, this is how I would do it. And then I looked at it, said, wow. When I looked at what he wrote and what I sent, you say my spectrum, no, and I am far, 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 far behind. And I imagine if I had sent this to the client, yeah. So after that, I went to take Gifted Hands again, the book, and I started reading it and creating a formula out of the writing style. A formula so that, so one thing I noticed, for instance, is that he begins almost every chapter like a scene. Like a scene with dialogue tags, with something describing where he is, what he's doing, and all of those things interwoven inextricably. Make inextricably just to confuse you. So that was my trying to assess where I am on the skill spectrum. And that is what I did. And it helped me. And I went back to his book, looked at how he has done everything, then I used the same strategy. When I finished and I gave it to the client, I remember, I was sending it to him in chapters, but I remember one call he called me from the US. The man was in awe. He was excited. Yeah, I gave it to my kids and they read it and said, wow, Daddy, you went through all that shit? You went through all that? Wow. Said, you wrote it so well. And I was like, oh. But without knowing that I can be a big fish, but you are a big fish in your family. You are a good writer. It's only your family you are a good writer in. You are a good writer. It's only in your organization you are good in that skill. Benchmark with a global standard. Jump into the ocean and test yourself and see whether the Lord is good. And his goodness endures forever. Hallelujah. So, one of the most recent works, it's not recent, but the client published it recently. And I can say it. No, my work, I'm a ghost writer, so I'm supposed to be a ghost. So you wouldn't know that I did it. But in this case, the client put my name in the acknowledgements. So he has made it public. So me too, I can say it. Or true or false. So if I say it, there's nothing really wrong with it, because he's already put it in the book that I helped him to do it. That is the captain, Simon Queno, the Emirates pilot. Okay. When I went to the launch, of the book, I was only interested in the editorial review. All the other things I was not interested. And when the editorial reviews were coming, I wasn't enjoying what people were saying because people were talking about how they connect to the story, not reviewing or critiquing the book. Then I listened to somebody who said she read it every day, and there were times she would be in her sofa in the evenings, and then she would be sobbing while she's reading it. And then there were times she was like, oh, because I just want to gauge, I just want to measure, I just want to see where I am. So it's important that you have a concept of the skill spectrum. My time. What is reskilling? Reskilling is simply retraining or learning new skills for a job that is different from what you were originally educated or trained for. It is retraining, reskilling. This is point number what? Is it 5 or 6? 6 is reskilling. And reskilling is simply retraining, learning new skills for a job that is different from what you were originally educated or trained for. And usually it sets you on a different career path. So an example is if you're an accountant and you decide to learn cloud computing. That is reskilling. It is in a different area. It is different from what you are already doing. That is reskilling. An example is if you're a fisherman and a certain man meets you and says, come and follow me, and then you become an apostle. That is also reskilling, isn't it? From fisherman to apostle. If you are a farmer in your father's house and you are forced and taken to another country and then you become a slave and you rise to become an estate manager, that is also reskilling. So reskilling, new skills, new area. And you know, the banking sector cleanup that happened forced a lot of people to reskill. So that he was working in the bank, he loses his job, now he has to find some other job to do. Reskilling. And thinking about it, a lot of us who have finished university and are working already are professional reskillers. The education system will force you to reskill because what you did in school and what you are doing now is not related. So the education system forces you to reskill. And that is not really a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to say you are reskilling. In fact, this lady, the CFO of the Bank of England, Efuache, Bank of England. Efuache, how many of you have heard of her? The CFO of the Bank of England, Ghanaian, Efuache. And Efuache read chemistry, first degree, second degree at Somerville in Oxford. Chemistry. Not just first degree, first and second. Chemistry. And then she went to do chartered accountants. Became a chartered accountant. Then she worked at Ernst & Young and blah, 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 blah. So reskilling is not a bad thing. In fact, reskilling can make you versatile. Because you can do this and you can do that at the same time. In fact, those of you who are very young, it will make you competitive if you can reskill not to leave the original area of training or education, but to add on to it. And especially when what you are going to reskill in is related to what you are already doing now. For instance, if you go to companies, a lot of departments are usually put together. HR is usually put together with what? Admin. So if you decide to reskill, so it's almost always the situation. But sometimes finance is put together with what? Admin. So you can decide to reskill. You are a finance expert, but in terms of administration also, you are an expert in that area. Because you don't know which of the gifts or skills may open a door for you. So you can be an expert in interpreting dreams. That skill may open a certain door for you. When you enter the room, you will not use that gift of interpreting dreams again. A new gift or skill comes into play, which is leadership, management. So you can be multi-skilled. A lot of the people in the Bible were multi-skilled. Look at David. David could play the harp. He was also a shepherd. He was also a warrior, a fighter. So he was multi-skilled. So Reskilling is not a bad thing. It can make you versatile, it can make you competitive. You don't always have to leave one area of training to reskill and then jump into another. You can do both at the same time. And these days, you see the way a lot of people are going into law and studying law. Almost everybody is studying law. Everybody is graduating as a lawyer. But you see, you don't do something because everybody is doing it. So you must be strategic. Law should not be fashionable, so everybody is doing law. But you can decide to add it to what you are doing strategically. If you complete secondary school and you are unable to continue to tertiary school and you have to learn a trade, become an artisan, that is also another aspect of reskilling. But Ghanaians, we don't like the trades. We don't like the artisan kind of jobs. We prefer the is it white collar or blue collar? So if you are here and you've not been able to go to university and you've had to be an artisan, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I have a very favorite statement I usually make. I say that whatever work you do, there is a higher level to it. Whatever work you do, there is a higher level to it. So there is nothing wrong with being an electrician. But if you are the kind of electrician, we invite you only to change bulbs, sockets, and go and buy regulator for fan and install it. That is the only skill level you operate at. Obeche. A combedo one crime. But there is another level where they can call you to come and do electrical wiring for an entire house. That is another level. Same electrician, different level of competencies. There is another level where somebody will hire you as an electrician, do the wiring, but he will go and hire an electrical engineer to come and supervise the work you have done. And the person may probably earn more than you. That is another third level of the same work of being an electrician. And there is another level also. It is the level where Anointed Electrical operates. How many of you have heard of Anointed Electrical Company? Where they employ electrical engineers and electricians to work for them, and they go and look for bigger contracts outside with companies. Then they deploy the electrical engineers, the technical people, to go and do it. That is another level. So whatever work you do, there is a higher level to it. It's also whatever skill I have, there is a higher level to that skill. One skill can be sharpened to a level that it can be used to create a different business on its own. One skill. Just one skill. The work I do is writing. Writing, I worked in corporate communications once. And in corporate communications, you must be a good writer. But writing is just one of several skills in corporate communications. Now, I took just that one skill and decided to create something out of it for myself. So some of you, just one skill. Just like one stone can kill Goliath. You wouldn't need so many things, but you take one and hone it, sharpen it real well, and it can deliver tremendous value for you. My time is up. If you are not getting a job because of the level of unemployment, accept jobs that require you to reskill. Don't say that I'm trained here, educated here, so this is the kind of work I want. If you don't see career progression or a future in your job or on your career path, consider reskilling. If you don't see career progression, a future, maybe you are working in a parastatal government institution and you are locked in one corner and you don't see yourself moving beyond that corner. You don't see any way up, left, right, wherever, and you don't know what to do. Sometimes you may need to consider reskilling. If your income is too low for you and you don't see yourself earning more on your current career path, you can consider reskilling. If you are not finding fulfillment or meaning in your current job or career path, consider reskilling to the path that will deliver fulfillment for you. When there is an opening in another department and your employer thinks it's more efficient to retrain and slot you there rather than employing new staff and orient the person and all of that, you can consider it and accept it. They are moving you from production to marketing, from marketing to production. And you see there are better possibilities or opportunities for you. If your cost of living has broken jail and your income can't arrest it, consider reskilling to start a side job. Multiple channels of income. Reskill for multiple channels of income. One source, but channels are multiple. One source where in this case your source is God, but your channels could be multiple. If you're an entrepreneur looking for another income source, you can consider reskilling to start another business in your value chain. In your value chain. Please, I'm rushing through. You can get the recording on Facebook afterwards because of time. Reskilling may not necessarily set you back. Some of you think that I have spent 5 years, 10 years, 15 years doing this, and you are telling me I should abandon it and go and start again somewhere else. Reskilling could be a setup for a greater comeback for you. Progress is not always linear. It can also be non-linear. Your life must not always move step by step, one improvement after another before you know you are progressing. Sometimes what appears like retrogression to you is God pulling you back to release you into a better and a greater future. It's because some of you, your greatest breakthrough may be in you reskilling. Not all of you, some of you. Your greatest sense of fulfillment or meaning may be in reskilling to a new career path. Your greatest impact may lie in reskilling. McDonald's was already in force when Ray Kroc discovered McDonald's. The McDonald brothers had started it. Ray Kroc was a salesman, a milkshake salesman. Then what Ray Kroc did was that he saw McDonald's and said it's a wonderful idea. He bought a franchise. He was in his early 50s, 51, 52, when he bought the franchise. By the time the McDonald brothers were aware, he had bought them out and scaled up the business. He reskilled from sales professional to become a business owner, franchise owner. Okay, let me just rush through. Upskilling. Upskilling, number 7, right? Point number 7. Upskilling is learning new skills or improving on existing skills to enhance your performance in your current role or on your career path. So with upskilling, reskilling, you are going into another career path, another field, possibly another industry. For reskilling, you are on the same job, on the same career path, but you are learning new skills to enable you to perform better. Upskilling is learning advanced skills. Whatever work you do, there is a more advanced level. However good you are, there is a more advanced skill. You can be a graphic designer, but do you know how to do animation? So you go and learn animation as an advanced skill to add to your graphic designing. Upskilling can also be specialization. The higher you go in developing your skills, sometimes the more specialized you become. And for every skill, there are areas of specialization and even sub-specialization. I have a client who is a reconstructive surgeon. He did 6 years medical school, went to do, 5 years or so, specialty in plastic surgery. After that, he's qualified, he can work. He decided to go to Harvard again and go and do some other specialty in micro-neurovascular surgery. What be that? Micro-neurovascular something. Now, the specialists are in greater demand than generalists. So seek to become a specialist. You are a good nurse, you are a fine nurse, but they are anesthetic. What do you say? How do you say it? Nurses. That is another level of specialization, sub-specialization, which makes you sharp, focus in greater demand to be able to command greater value. And in the medical profession, for instance, the specialists make more money than the general practitioners. The top 4 or 5 earners there, the brain surgeons, the heart surgeons, the plastic surgeons, which one again? And then orthopedic surgeons. Okay. And you have to upskill because knowledge becomes obsolete. The word pastor was pulling out, obsolescence. Have you realized that when we were kids, they said, my very eyes may just see under 9 planets. Now they are not 9 anymore. Do you know that? How many of you know they are not 9 planets anymore? They've demoted one of them. Which one? Pluto. They say Pluto is no longer a planet. The powers that be says Pluto is no longer a planet, so we all believe it. 9 planets. It's become obsolete. Right now, Elon Musk has made nonsense of NASA's rocket science knowledge in terms of rockets not being reusable. He has made it reusable. So it will go up and then it will come down and land on a launch pad. If you've not watched any of those things before, go and watch it on YouTube. It's wonderful. If you know how rockets used to go up in space, the rocket will blast and then the capsule will go up and then everything. And he has reduced the cost of making a rocket by 65% with that new technology. So if you're a rocket scientist and all you know is programming the rocket just to go up and explode in the air, your knowledge is obsolete. Right now, SpaceX has the proprietary whatever over the programming for making those rockets reusable. So some of the things, and this is in science, in your field too, the same thing. Some of what you know is obsolete. You know, when Pastor was talking about if you are not cautious, you'll be there and change is coming and you are discovering you are becoming more obsolete. I remembered how long ago I finished investing. I said, I'm becoming an old man or what? I'm not an old man, I'm a young man. Charlie, we finished a long time ago. Of course, maybe not as long as Mr. Benin. Anyway, so I'm ending. So, and you see, so you can both upskill and reskill. Even when you reskill, learn a new trade, a new skill, and you enter a new field, along the way you have to do what? Upskill. So you reskill, then you upskill in that field. Don't be afraid of reskilling if you need to reskill. Don't reskill because everybody is reskilling. Own your scaling process. Own your personal development process. Own it. Be in charge of it. Be proactive about it. Don't outsource your learning and development to your employer. Don't outsource it. They say, I'm completing it. I'm completing it. I hear Paul said finally, and then he wrote 3 more chapters. Is it true? So, let me just finish with this. I'm making a last statement. Then I close. Not 3 chapters. The skills you develop on your own because you want to fulfill your life's purpose can be more impactful than the skills you develop because you want to get an academic qualification. The skills you develop on your own because you want to achieve a vision you carved out of God's purpose for your life can be more impactful than the skills you develop because you only want to be promoted to the next rank at work. The skills you develop on your own because you want to better the lives of other people can be more impactful than the skills you develop because you want to better only your life and your family's lot. The skills you develop because you want to deploy and maximize your gifts and talents can be more impactful than the skills you develop only because you want to survive. The skills you develop because you want to leave a legacy can be more impactful than the skills you develop only because you want to survive for a short period. Like Mr. Benin said, these days everybody has his TV station here. And I'll encourage everybody to adopt what we call university on wheels, where you learn on the go. If you spend 2 hours every day in traffic from Monday to Friday, those 2 hours times 5 days in a week is 10 hours. If you were sitting in a master's program via distance learning or whatever, you would have had a master's degree in 2 years or 1 year. So you can convert the time you are in the car to a learning time by listening to something relevant on your phone. If we check your YouTube right now and we go into your downloads, what are we going to see in your downloads? Interestingly, this week, something popped up in my timeline again. Mr. Benny, you wrote an article in the Daily Graphic about reading books. It popped up suddenly. I don't know how come it popped up. It popped up this week. A nice article about books, and the various kind of books you can read, and what some Bill Gates and others have recommended, and all of that. If you are here and you are not a reader, forget it. For your field, relevant knowledge for your field. How many books in your area of skill do you have in your library? If you have a library at all. Oh, I know you have The Spirit of Faith by Oyedepo. I know you have, what else? You have Kenyon. I know you have, what else? Pastor Beck's Comfort is an Enemy. And they have their place. Now we are talking about skill. So what other books do you have in your area of skill? Okay, thank you.